the anime man drama has gotten so bad that the anime man himself came to make a video. Now, you see Joey Bizinger here, but what you don't realize is, for the most people, this is Mr. Anime Man. Before there were the anime men, there was the anime man. Now, what's the likelihood that the anime men understood that this channel existed and was an iconic brand in the OG days of anime stuff, and then based their names off of it? Well, I mean, the topic of this video is about anime tourists, so you know what? I think the likelihood of the anime men branding their group's name after the anime man is actually pretty low. Straight up. And here, the anime tourism problem. Is Joey Bizinger, the anime man, even a figurehead to be speaking about tourism? Isn't he somebody that literally doesn't even watch anime anymore? Now, that's like I think a running gag. It's like a meme that like, oh, the anime man doesn't even watch anime anymore. All he has is hot takes about Bocchi the Rock, and he's just a manga man now. I think he knows what he's talking about. He's like a retired OG veteran who dabbles in anime here and here, and I think his takes are pretty good. And we've covered so many separate videos about it. Here's the first one, bro. This doing numbers. Sorry, this is the first one here. This doing numbers, a brief little draft of reading some tweets and seeing what happened. If you guys don't know, the anime man made a tier list video, which is so disrespectful towards the anime that's been covering. And we are farming. So you know what? Let's get a part 3 to this. Mr. Joey Bizinger, tell me how it is. We should deport these tourists, man.
All right, fine. I'll talk about this.
All right.
God damn it. So normally I wouldn't make this kind of video, but I guess it's been blowing up in my mentions recently. So I figured I would maybe give my 2 cents on the matter, even though
I wonder how many people are accidentally typing the anime man instead of the anime men, and therefore he's getting a lot of like false stray bullets onto him.
there has already been a ton of people who have made their own interpretations on the whole thing. But
Like me.
as the title suggests, let's talk about tourists. And no, I don't mean tourists in the traditional sense of, you know, people you see out and about exploring a country or anything like that. I mean tourists in the digital footprint sense, or more specifically in the subculture sense. You know, people who are
Just say it. Will he even specifically say the anime men in this video?
just visiting and checking it out, you know, looking at it from the surface and maybe getting a different perspective on it than people who actually live or are a part of said location. And the same thing can definitely be said for subcultures. And today we're going to be talking about the tourists of one particular subculture that I happen to have been a part of for quite a while now.
Anime.
I think it's...
Bro is such a weeb that he doesn't even write anime in anime.
How? Anime.
Sorry, bro is such a weeb. He wrote anime in anime language. The moon rooms himself. This guy speaks Japanese, bro. He knows what he's talking about. Now, before we go into it, tourists are basically what? People who come to your local country and visit your culture and appreciate what you got going on, right? And I think a proper behavior and etiquette of a tourist is to respect the culture and the land that you're stepping into. This is not your local land, and no matter how much you may disagree with their customs, you must behave in a way that is respectful to them. Now, that's actual, like, you know, tourism happening in real life, that you go to Japan, then you follow Japan's rules. Can the same being said about anime stuff? I think so too, right? Digital footprints. Now there's people checking out new stuff, and when they're like basically I'm trying to make you contextualize like real tourism issues and translate that into what the anime men did, and think for yourselves, was what they did that abhorrent?
I think it's really nobody's surprise that, especially over, I would say, the past 5 years or so, basically ever since COVID happened and everyone was forced to stay inside, and a lot of people over COVID very much got into anime when maybe beforehand they didn't even have a split thought about it. And it was due to those extreme circumstances that we were all put into all over the world that a lot of people who previously didn't give a rat's ass about anime or Japanese animation of any sorts came out the other end being anime fans, or at least self-proclaimed anime fans.
Blame Demon Slayer, bro. I'm trying to find this one image of Crunchyroll Anime of the Year pictures, And it's a very funny picture where it shows you like the past years of like what anime has won in the past. Oh, here's one right here. Right? He talks about COVID and the lockdown. Do you think that there is a chance in this current year and this current, audience that we have of anime enjoyers that something like Yuri on Ice, an anime about figure skating, will at the same time exploring the sexualities of two male protags and what it means to compete and what it means to be themselves and exploration of their whatever, right? You think that shit would win? Something changes here, right? Something changes at 2020. Demon Slayer pops off, JJK pops off, AOT pops off, Cyberpunk pops off, and you know what? All these animes are great, but you notice that like at a certain point, we're no longer eating, our vegetables. We're no longer eating different types of food. It's all becoming chicken tenders as soon as 2020 hits, and we seemingly can't get out of chicken tenders. Now, yes, I know that there's a lot of deep writing in Attack on Titan, and this is not just an Unga Bunga show, but I'm talking about mainstream shonen and shonen-esque animes like the titles you see here are dominating because the floodgates opened in 2020 and a lot of people coming into watch are young impressionable men. That's why the term shonen even exists. It's the biggest demographic, and when those new people are coming in, well, the floodgates are now opened, huh? These are the tourists that are being mentioned, I guess.
These, ladies and gentlemen, are what we call anime tourists. Or I guess that's what the internet decided to call them, because I only just found out about this term maybe like 2 weeks ago, and it's...
Tourist is a funny term because before there was a term called hipsters. I remember hipsters was a derogatory term, just like tourists right now, in describing exactly the people that's arguing against tourists, right? What are hipsters? Like, oh, I actually knew about this band, or I actually knew about this anime before it went popular, right? So it's funny how we did like a paradigm shift of no more shaming like the OGs, the hipsters, but more of shaming the new people trying to get in.
Fucking hilarious. And especially over the COVID pandemic, and especially with the blow up of things like TikTok and short form media, there has definitely been no ending of this surge of anime tourists who are...
And I think there's such a synergistic effect happening with short form content and the nature of the demographic and the animes we just mentioned, because hype scenes that attract young men who again are a bunch of chicken nugget enjoyers, they then watch even more of that in short form content because of how accessible and digestible it is, and it's like a compounding loop. Like, do you see the positive effect loop cycle happening?
Invading our sanctity and our sanctuous place. And there is one particular video, which I'm not going to give any attention to, and I'm not going to mention names.
Oh, come on now, we know what we're talking about. Just say it. Just say it.
Because I've already used it in the thumbnail, and I'm sure most people are already...
True, he did use it in the thumbnail. That one guy got blasted.
Be aware of the situation. If you care to know what it is, then I'm sure somebody, or at least 20-something people in the comments have mentioned their names. But a particular video was, sent to me. Not just, people...
I can't imagine Joey's first reaction to that video. Because to me, it's off-putting that a lot of these, animes were just disrespectfully just glazed over, not even giving like a genuine attempt to appreciate for what it is. But this guy, again, if you know about his taste, right? He's an OG with like a very, I wouldn't say pretentious taste, but he knows what he's talking about, and he fancies a lot of these other animes that you would never think that the average anime watcher would even check out. And due to his appreciation for those kind of genres and those kind of mediums, I'm sure it must have been so much more fucking just, angry for him, right? Like, he would be so fucking, like, of all the people that could get pissed off, this is retro fan, exactly. The retro anime watcher, right? Like, I think of any people, he would be the most triggered.
Who watch my stuff, but also personal friends of mine who are like, Joey, you're gonna have to see this video. And it was...
Wonder if Giga said that.
Essentially, very much a me-coded video. This is a video that you would have seen maybe on my main channel like 5-10 years ago or something like that.
Exactly right. This is the shit that he does. Like, this is his playground.
Where it's essentially a video of a bunch of anime fans, at least self-proclaimed anime fans, who go and...
Self-proclaimed anime fans, by the way.
Rank every single first episode of every popular anime from every single year. When I saw that video, I was like, damn, that's kind
Good
of
idea.
a cool idea.
It is.
I kind of wish I made that video back in the day. Or, you know, maybe I can still make it today.
Literally do it. Literally do it and choose the same animes that they've chosen and give it the love and respect and the appreciation it deserves.
If you guys want. So I was curious, you know, because it's not often that we get to see anime fans, or at least anime content creators in this platform, talk about the medium from that big of a spectrum, you know.
And you know why that is? Because not many people care about that stuff. And I talked about this in the other videos, right? I talked about how, again, right? Shoutouts to Guga again. Guga History Food, right? The reason I bring you this again is I cooked 100 years of chicken. I cooked 100 years of whatever foods for steaks. And the reason I bring you this is a very meta YouTube, you know, gaming thing where the structure of these videos is so enticing to see, like, you know, I watched past 100 years of anime or whatever, right? That's kind of like what they did. But like, when people do this stuff, I think that Joey would do it because he truly has passion for those animes of the past. The anime men, they're not doing it because they want to show appreciation for those animes. They're doing it because they understand that this is a viral template. This is a viral template, something that's been working, and they simply want to use that formula and apply it onto the anime medium without truly understanding what they were getting themselves into. Therefore, it feels so disingenuous. Therefore, it seems so fake, right?
Most people are usually very quick to talking about the hot shows that are currently trending right now, or, you know, maybe shows that they grew up with, you know, maybe from like the 2010s or the 2000s or the 90s or stuff like that. But it's very rare that we actually get to see people going through the entire lifetime of anime, at least in the popularity sense or the popular sense of televised anime from, you know, the 1960s or whatever. You know, I've done a couple of videos like that in the past, as you guys have hopefully watched and liked. And, you know, although I didn't grow up with the older stuff, I try to understand the significance and the history behind it, because the medium itself would be nothing without these giants whose shoulders all of these other shows have stood on. But man, this video... This fucking video. It was,
Say it. Say it.
Not up to the standard that I was hoping for. Look, this isn't supposed to be some kind of like drama video, obviously. You know, I don't give a fuck about that kind of stuff, but I just find it really amusing.
Okay.
As to just the
I think he's sugarcoating this too much. Just fucking say it on your mind, bro. Crucify these fucks.
visceral reaction that the online anime community had towards this video. Like, God, I don't think I've ever seen such a visceral reaction to an anime video in my 12 years of being an anituber.
Yeah, definitely there was a huge fallout from this incident. And why were so many people upset about the anime men about that video? Right? Because first of all, they have 4 million something subscribers. I think that having a big platform and influential status like that, when someone new checks out their channel and they realize, holy shit, they make anime content and this is the extent of the representation of this medium, they feel like these are frauds. These are fucking industry plants. Like, what the fuck do they even know about this shit? And they feel like they're a bunch of like phonies, right? On top of that, if you actually watch the video, the attitude in which they give throughout the entire video, literally scrolling on their phone, scratching their ass, barely fucking paying attention. One dude couldn't even find the Inuyasha first episode in English subtitles, therefore watched it in Spanish dub and said, oh, I didn't understand, this is confusing because it was in Spanish dub. F tier. How else would you get upset at that, right? So like there's a lot of frustration happening with the lack of respect, the any semblance of like, you know, just proper attitude and honestly going into it. And you realize that, like, damn, like, these are the newest generation of Anitubers, huh? Like, these are the biggest Anitubers of our generation right now. And this is the extent of the content that they can make about this medium that we love. Combine that with the fact that they are literally the face of short-form content, right? They are not, like, long-form content creators. This video that they made was completely outside of their expertise and realm. It's out of their league, right? They specialize in short-form skits off of mainstream content. And then more people have this visceral hate for those kind of TikTok brain kids, right? They hate short form content in the way that they think it is brain rotting the new generation, and no one has the attention span or even has like the due diligence to check what they're talking about is even true. So if you combine all of these different elements together, it makes a lot of sense why people pop the fuck off of this video. On top of that too, there is also a thing that I don't think a lot of people mention. They changed their title, right? A lot of people, when they first saw the video, it never said judging the first episode. Now, they may have mentioned that in the actual video itself, but again, most people just go off of headlines and jump to the final tier list without looking at what they actually had to say and then make headlines off of that.
I had some bad takes. I have been thwarted. And I had a lot of people being like, Joe, you gotta make a response video to it. You gotta make your own version of this video. You gotta come back and save Anitube, bro. And yeah, look,
yeah, some Kurosaki Ichigo is Save the Soul Society shit. Like, if he could make that same tier list video, but with actual, like, knowledge about those shows, I think that'd be a great, you know, resolution for this.
Respect that, and I appreciate all of those kind comments. So if you did, you know, on social media and stuff like that, kind of, you know, weirdly defend me in a weird way, even though I had nothing to do with this video, thank you. But I think I want to use this opportunity instead to just kind of talk about the more broader underlying issue, the elephant in the room, if you will.
Tourists.
Because anime tourism, or anime tourists, are a kind of a real thing. And,
yeah,
you know, even though this may be the first time I'm talking about it in a long-form video like this, I have been kind of subtly talking about it, you know, using my short-form content on, you know, things like Instagram Reels and TikTok and stuff like that, which, you know, if you missed that whole train, check this video, links in the description. There is a big reason why I, personally, kind of took a break from making anime content.
He got cancelled for his take about Bocchi the Rock and decided to stop making videos. No, that's not what happened.
And it was basically because of this very issue. Like, a lot of people think this whole anime tourism thing started only like recently, like I'm talking like a couple of years ago. No.
Nah. You don't know what real tourists are, bro. Joey's been fighting anime tourists for the past decade.
Oh, this problem has been around for quite a while now. As much as I think that, yes, it is a problem in a weird way, I do also think it's an inevitability. So to
yeah, it is absolutely an inevitability, and we'll talk about that problem in just a bit. Hold on, this is gonna be a long video. I gotta take a piss and then be right back. No one else will just post a fucking hour-long unedited video where they just go to the bathroom at parts of the video and leave that shit in. Because I'm built different. Now I'm just a lazy piece of shit. So I think that, like, are tourists an issue? I mean, again, in the context of real life tourism, like, the reason why, again, let's use Japan for example here. Do you know why everyone's going to Japan for tourist stuff? Because their yen is really like low right now, right? They've got a lot of issues with their economy, and it's very cheap if your currency that you live in, mostly American people, right? The purchasing power of the United States dollar right now is so high compared to the Japanese yen, you can get a lot out of your money. And Japan also, in a sense, you know, needs some sort of stimulation from, you know, tourists, because that's a big part of their economy. Whenever their local industries and, you know, stuff are not working out, one of the best ways to, in fact, boost the economy is to get the help of tourists to come and spend their money. And there's some sort of, like, you know, mutual benefit that they get out of it. But it becomes a problem when people start coming in like Johnny Somali, you know, when motherfuckers coming in with such disrespect towards their local culture. Just because you're a tourist doesn't mean you can just show up and be disrespectful all you want, right? That's why there's a lot of, like, negative stigma and derogatory sentiment with the word tourist, right? It's almost like a slur. But it's also like an inevitability because, again, of real life circumstances like this, or even an anime of, like, how do you even determine what a tourist is? Are tourists new people coming into anime? Well, everyone becomes, you know, at some point, right? The first anime they ever watched, like, you gotta get in somehow. You don't just spawn into the anime community as OG veterans, right? You eventually, like, in the beginning, everyone is a tourist and you get ingrained with the community. Now, the issue, though, what's the actual problem? The problem is, I guess, hearing takes and opinions and the culture, the original otaku culture that's been established by, like, the societal rejects, because anime, again, was not so popular back in the day, right? Like, if you enjoyed anime, you might be bullied and you might be outcasted, and because of how different anime was treated before, you know, the COVID boom, it was a very niche subculture that a lot of people banded together and created their own sense of identity. And now you have a bunch of mainstream people coming in with the floodgates being open, trying to change that culture. Then it's going to feel very disrespectful, and a lot of people are very upset at tourists, right? That's like the main conversation that I hear over and over again.
Start with why is it a problem? Why is anime tourism or anime tourists a problem? Well,
Tell me.
It's a problem for a number of reasons. I think the biggest one may have to do with you know, the perspectives of those who have been in the anime community, the online anime community, for as long as it's been around. Basically,
The OGs.
I would say since like the early 2000s, you know, maybe the early 2010s, at least on YouTube and stuff like that. Because believe me, when I started the Anime Man channel back in 2013, there wasn't really an AniTube community. There wasn't really an anime community. There were, of course, yes, you know, great AniTubers who came before me and who were around before I came onto the scene. And there was most certainly an anime community online on things like forums and stuff like that. But it wasn't so much a community as just like a gathering, because the medium was so still niche and especially new in the Western world, and especially on the online Western world, that there wasn't so much a community of sorts. And it wasn't really until, I would say, like mid-2010s that it really started to become this like community.
AKA, these are the fucking boomers that worked a summer part-time job and was able to buy a house. While me, I have to fucking grind 8 videos a day to barely make rent. Nah, I'm kidding. No, there I think is an absolute statement to be said about first player's advantage though, right? If you're the first of your industry, your niche, to make something, you have such a big advantage, and that's why these are the biggest creators. Now, does that mean anyone can do it? No, you have to be fucking good. You need to be a trailblazer. You need to be a pioneer, and to have the hindsight to do such a thing, I think they deserve that first player's advantage,
if you will. You know, because before then, it was very common in the real world, and I was a big victim of this, that if you came out and said that you liked these Japanese cartoons,
fucking loser. That's pretty much it, right? Now, I don't think they would really talk about that way about Dragon Ball, right? There's something about Dragon Ball that appeals to so many people, right? I don't think many people would see Dragon Ball and saying, ew, weird, but definitely like slice of life animes, more rom-com stuff, more like Japanese otaku culture stuff. You show that to people, ooh, yikes.
You would just be bullied for it. Oh, you like these weird Japanese cartoons with like your anime schoolgirls and I mean, trust me, I was there. I got bullied for it in school, you know.
I was there 3,000 years ago.
Not only being the only remotely Asian kid in my school, but the only kid really who knew about this weird and wonderful world of Japanese cartoons. And
yep, I was the only Asian kid growing up in an entire city of redneck white people, and all I did was just rewatch Naruto, One Piece, Bleach, Dragon Ball, like those battle shonen stuff. That's all I did as a kid, and I had no one else to share it with.
So imagine my shock when, over the COVID pandemic, especially, and even a little bit before then as well, I'd say ever since the rise of TikTok, all of a sudden, those kids who were definitely at school bullying those kids who loved watching anime, then turned around and went, hey, you know what?
Maybe I fuck with that.
Kind of cool. Because God, let me tell you, you kids today, I don't want to sound like an unk straight.
No. You are a fucking unk, bro. He straight up had to take that like, oh, you think you know tourists? You don't know tourists. I've been dealing with tourists since fucking 10 years ago before the term tourist was even fucking made, bro. No, I get his take though. I totally understand what he's talking about and how it feels very like weird that like you motherfuckers didn't even enjoy this shit in the past, but now you enjoy it because, you know, it's popular to do it now. I mean, that says a lot about our society, right? It talks about how basically the lion does not concern himself with the opinions of the sheep. But most people are not lion, and they would rather wait until it's acceptable by society to do something, and then will they actually get on board and enjoy something like anime, which was disregarded in the past.
Off the bat, but you kids today have got it fucking easy. We ran so that you guys could walk. Now you don't get bullied for liking anime. You get bullied for liking the wrong anime.
Yeah. Wonder what kind of wrong animes those are now these days. I don't know, like with like a, but I see a lot of infighting happening within like the shonen tard community too, where it's just like you watch the wrong battle shonen, then it's like, nah bro, it's like a bunch of infighting happening within the same genre, like My Hero Academia and Jujutsu Kaisen and Boruto and all that other shit.
Can you imagine the amount of privilege that comes with? But all jokes aside, you know, there is most certainly now, because anime has become so much more of a mainstream thing and so much more of a hip and cool thing and an okay thing to enjoy, there is certainly now a new group of people who previously, again, did not even want to say the word anime out loud, but, you know, didn't take the medium all that seriously.
I think, to be fair, there is more than just one type of tourist, right? I think what Joey's describing right now are people that he grew up with that may have bullied him for enjoying those animes, but then as they grew up, as they go into their 20s, now they're actually checking out anime because it's more socially acceptable, right? But then there is also a different type of group of new young generation kids, right? We're not talking about the same people that hated our anime in the past, but now liking it, but rather fresh new kids coming in. That sounds weird. Them young boys are coming, and they're coming to the anime scene, and they're appreciating it for what it is without having this, like, you know, negative sentiment that they had in the past that these OG, like, Joey's friends or quote-unquote, like, colleagues might have had, man. Thank you, side character, for the 5 months. I appreciate you.
And then now, because of things like shorts content and because of the COVID pandemic pushing everybody inside for years and years, and basically people getting so bored to the point where they're like, all right, fine, let me give this anime thing a go, and then
Demon Slayer happened, man. The right time, right place. I truly believe Demon Slayer is not a timeless classic, but a product of its environment. And what do I mean by that? And listen, you know what? I'll take my words back in the future if I'm wrong about it. But a timeless classic basically means without any external circumstance or cultural, you know, like meta or anything, that a show can stand in any generation and still be great and be accepted by the masses. Very few shows like that, but then there's more shows where it's a product of its time, where it's due to these like different variables and circumstances no one could have prepared for, it did so well. Demon Slayer, I think, is the perfect example. Same with Genshin Impact to an extent too, right? Yeah, it's the COVID buff, right? Everyone's locked inside. Everybody has nothing to do but to consume. And I'm not saying Genshin Impact or Demon Slayer is bad. I think they're extremely polished products and it executes what they're trying to do really well, right? And I'm saying you that, like, because of this COVID buff on top of having a good product, it just exploded in a way no one could ever foreseen, and it opened the gates to, you know, I think it opened the gates of anime land that no one else even knew. But like, these are the people I'm talking about that has no idea. Like, basically, most people that watch anime don't even understand this system exists. Not this website, but that there is summer, fall, spring, winter. What are these? Seasonal anime. The most like average anime consumer does not check out every single anime like we do here because I make content. But most people, you know what they do? They don't even know this is a thing. And every once in a while, they hear their friends talking about something like Dan Season 2 or Dan Season 1, right? Or they hear about Frieren or Jujutsu Kaisen. And they hear it through the grapevines of other people talking about it. And they're like, yo, you should check this out, man. It's a hype anime. And they go check it out. And they usually, they watch it through like Netflix or Crunchyroll, whatever dub language they like, you know? And that's like the casual viewer, right? That's how most people, I think, are being introduced to the scene. And I don't really blame them for not understanding everything there is to do about, you know, the anime culture and medium. If the casual viewers wants to, you know, enjoy Demon Slayer for all it's got, perfect, man. I'm glad that you're watching Demon Slayer. I'm glad that you've gotten into anime, and maybe you can check out different shows too. But the problem starts to happen, I guess, when those people come in with the disrespectful attitude and try to project their own opinions and like ideals that goes against the established cultures that's been made of the otaku culture of the past. And that's where a lot of like the infighting happens, right? Again, I give you the Japanese tourism incident, right? You can be a tourist and appreciate the locals, but if you start coming in and being disrespectful and trying to change what the medium is, right? Trying to police and try to change it because you have a different ideal and perspective about this, that's when all the fighting starts to happen.
Ending up enjoying it, it created a bunch of anime fans. And let me just say right off the bat, I don't think that being an anime tourist is necessarily all a bad thing.
I don't think being a tourist is bad at all. I think like anything, there are good and bad things that can come with anything.
Everybody went through that.
We need tourists, right? Straight up. Like, listen, as much as like, again, I never go side with radicals on each side of the spectrum. I always try to look at it objectively and think about what is best for like us in a nutshell. And to gatekeep everyone out and just close the borders and say no new people can come in because you want to, you know, retain like the identity of the shit that you grew up with. I understand where you're coming from, but like that shit, like literally, you're gonna die off. You will die off. The people will stop watching anime, and to think that like you don't need new people coming in, you're just so ignorant about that. All you care is about clutching onto your fucking jewels and your pearls, and you have this radical like opinion that all tourists are bad. That's not the case. Tourists can be good or bad like any people. This is a human thing. And if you can have a system where we welcome in new people watching anime and be able to introduce them to more and have them appreciate the stuff that we love, then we can grow together. This is sustainable.
Phase at least once in their life. I think when back in like the early 2000s and stuff like that, or like the 2010s, if you started getting into the anime community, stuff like that, I think everybody at one point was an anime tourist.
With Attack on Titan, with Sword Art Online 2012, that was a big tipping point too, I think.
But we didn't call them anime tourists. We called them weeaboos.
Yeah.
It's like kind of the same thing if you think about it.
Well, I think weeboo is not really same in terms of tourists, because weebs, I think, are hardcore anime fans. Weeb technically is Western people that glaze and glorifies Eastern culture to the point they think that they're superior, and that's what we call, you know, hey, you only watch anime in Japanese, you know, dub, and you denounce all of English dub, fucking weebs, right? But like, I wouldn't call a tourist a weeb, right? I would say like you're a weeb if you're like hardcore into anime. I think a tourist by nature can't really be a weeb just yet.
It's just like, now it sounds less like a slur. You know, what is a weeaboo?
I think a weeboo, again, it's not like, it's to me at least, a weeb is like a title you earn when you are consuming a lot of anime medium and culture. A lot of it. Not like surface level, that like you're pretty fucking deep into it.
Weeaboo is essentially just somebody who is non-Japanese, who loves anime so much to the point where they think they understand everything about Japan and Japanese culture and Japanese subculture.
True.
But in reality,
they don't nothing, right? It's Dunning-Kruger syndrome, where you are a surface level understanding of something and you act as if you are the topic matter expert.
Completely misguided and base all of their information off of fictional Japanese cartoons.
That's right.
And they create their entire personality around that so that they could fit in with a niche and fit in with who they think they actually are.
Yes.
It kind of sounds like an anime tourist. You know, it's essentially the same thing. But
I think I totally get what he's trying to say, except to me, I guess the tourist differentiates in like their well, I mean, he talked about we being a surface level understander of the culture, right? To me, I guess it was more about like the proficiency spectrum of how much they know. So I guess his definition of weeb is like less sweatier than mine.
Here is where I would differentiate a weeaboo from an anime tourist. And this is purely just my personal definition. So if you think otherwise,
sure,
I'd love to know.
Just semantics.
All right. I think the biggest difference between an anime tourist and a weeaboo is that anime tourists think that their opinion on anime
is the correct one. They're moral policers. While a weeboo will camouflage and adapt with the existing medium, a tourist has their own ideals and opinions that they try to project and try to justify as the correct one.
is more correct than everybody else. What do I mean by that? Well, I think that a lot of these like anime tourists,
I think a lot of the stuff happening right now with tourist stuff is like the fan service, right? A lot of people, like anime in a nutshell, has a lot of fan service, right? And that's something that is just second nature to us, right? I know that there's like a lot of unfortunate, lolicon content that a lot of people get, mad about and frustrated about, and tourists come in and calls a bunch of like people pedos based off of that, which I disagree with, right? I think that like there's a lot of stuff that, again, the moral policing part that a lot of people find frustrating from the new people coming in, and that's why that's like the biggest source of infighting.
Very much, again, started watching anime over the pandemic, and therefore have only really been exposed to, let's say, the past 5, maybe give or take 10 years of anime. And don't get me wrong, in the 10 years of anime since 2015, anime has certainly changed. The type of shows that get big have changed. The quality has fucking increased.
Unga bunga shows.
There have been a lot of merits to the evolution of anime in the past 10 years. But I think at the same time, anything that falls outside of the scope of the past 10 years, and anything that falls outside of the scope of how they think anime is and how they think anime should be, is deemed as wrong or incorrect.
And I think a lot of people here come with this misunderstanding that anime isn't really made for you. What do I mean by that? Dude, the domestic market does not give a fuck about the international, straight up. Anime is mainly made by Japanese people for Japanese people, right? A lot of shows pander specifically towards Japanese males. Females too. But a lot of the issues I see with a lot of animes that pander toward Japanese males is, again, the whole fan service and the moral policing aspect of a lot of like woke Americans come in with their political identity and ideologies, and they think that like everyone else should be held to the same standards. And they start trying to say this is bad, that this is, bad, and we should censor this, we should censor that, this is weird, blah, 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 without even understanding this shit's not made for you. Who are you to decide that like this is like objectively correct? And that's where I see a lot of discourse happening, when a lot of hatred for tourists come in.
And I think that's why you get a lot of these like newer anime fans now who hype up these current shows, these like big shonen shows, like Solo Leveling or Attack on Titan, or
actually Solo Leveling is Korean,
Jujutsu Kaisen and stuff like that, and think that every anime that should be praised needs to fall under that same exact umbrella. That's like listening to a rock band and thinking that all music needs to sound like rock music for it to constitute as music.
I guess we're kind of, pointing out the shonen tards, a bunch of chicken nugget enjoyers, and I love chicken nuggets, man. I love my chicken tendies too. But if your taste profile is limited to chicken nuggets and you can't appreciate some other foods, then you have no fucking business even talking about those foods, because again, your taste profile is that of a fucking kindergartner.
Which is ridiculous for me to even say out loud. They don't understand that, not only has anime evolved over the past 10, even 5 years, but, if you go back to like 2000s anime, or 90s anime, or 80s, or 70s, or 60s anime, the art and the medium has changed vastly. Just like how Led Zeppelin sounds completely different to, say, Muse, just as a broad example, right?
And I think that Joey's building up a case here of how it's unfair to project the same level of standard that was created by MAPPA and human slavery, right? Like, you look at the Sakuga fucked out of just their mind animations, and you compare it to the first episodes of fucking Astro Boy, Like you, because like, here's the thing, the anime men, I don't think are able to understand like there's like a evolution of animation, and that there's more parameters to judge an anime more than just the production value. And because they cannot appreciate things outside of just modern battle shonen stuff, they're gonna watch the old stuff and be like, this shit trash.
It doesn't justify the fact that Led Zeppelin is no longer relevant, or it's crap, or it falls outside of music. That's what these anime tourists, at least from what I have seen online, claim. They think that they have entered this space and gone and looked around and gone, hey, everything that is like not epic fights and shonen
trash
and amazing animation and hype doesn't fall under what I constitute as a good anime.
Yep.
Therefore, it must be bad.
And this is the really insidious part of all of this, and I talked about this in the other videos too, and it's the way that social media algorithms rewards people that are the most like catering towards the lowest hanging fruit, right? And listen, I think that it still takes, you know, skill and work ethic to capture that lowest hanging fruit market, but who's that market again? The demographic of battle shonen enjoyers. Children who think that loud is funny. Children that thinks that battle shonen mainstream, you know, memes are all there is to anime. And because there's more of those kids and teenagers and young adults that has free time to consume that shit, those kind of people, content creators who cater specifically towards that, are gonna get the biggest following. You're not gonna have a bunch of fucking unks, bro. A bunch of like 30-year-old dudes that has a lot of time to listen to fucking even a video like this, right? There's more people that are just hopped up on short form content, and that's why the anime men are able to grow to such a big size. Is it because that they're in industry plants? No, I think that's a ridiculous statement. Is it because they're nepo kids? I do think that some of their family members are very influential and wealthy and has the access to give them the production value that no regular high school group of friends could have to. And they make good skits and they make good content. It's just that when they establish their platform off of this demographic, and then they try to assess, you know, anime from the 60s up to here now with their limited knowledge of anime itself, because they are essentially tourists by Joey's definition, then you start to realize that, okay, this is why like everything is so fucked up. This is why they're so big, yet at the same time, they don't seem to understand anything that they're talking about.
I don't remember where I saw it, but I remember seeing a comment on like a TikTok or a YouTube video or something where somebody called these anime tourists or at least this new rise or era of anime tourists as the Columbus era of anime. You know, much like Christopher Columbus, who
came in and thought that North America was Indians or something, Aboriginals, and they're like, yeah, y'all are Indians. So it's like, what? What are you talking about?
Went to the Americas, mistook it for India,
and
called the natives now a term that I'm not allowed to say anymore, and you know, claimed the land for themselves because you know, he was like, well, I discovered it, and fuck all of you guys. This is my place now. And I was like, holy shit, this is exactly what these anime tourists are doing. They're like coming to these unfamiliar lands, planting their flag in the soil, and going, we own this land now. Out of the way, previous people. Your opinions are irrelevant now.
I don't think they're necessarily saying your opinions are irrelevant, though. Well, at least the anime men. And I'm sure this video is more about just than the anime men. And I'm sure there has been tourists that come in here with like a voice and, you know, like, I guess a following, or like, you know, just like this mindset that like we have the right opinion and you guys that have been consuming anime for a long time are actually the ones in the wrong.
Because you are old and your time is up and you don't know what good anime is anymore. But at the same time they claim all of this, they don't respect the history of the medium, they don't respect how the evolution has happened, they don't respect the cultural significance behind the evolution of the medium. They just look at it as something like cool and pop and fun and a
Exactly, right? Because again, they only know chicken nuggets, right? They only know solo leveling. They only know like Dan Da Dan, or maybe even Free Run's great. But again, these are very like wide appealing mainstream shows that is tip of the iceberg. But again, because it panders towards the lowest hanging fruit, the most common denominator, it's going to have the biggest following. And I'm not even saying that like people need to study and do research and have a PhD dissertation in the history of anime to be able to talk about anime. But it's more of, can you acknowledge that like you're out of your league, that you're out of your depth, rather than being ignorant and talking as if, you know, oh, these are just trash, you know? Like, to me, again, right, I don't know anything. I just come in here with my opinions, and I think that because I'm a very logical and rational people support my, you know, opinions, even if I'm not a subject matter or anything. And if I'm out of my depth at something, I'll say my bad, and I just didn't know, and I can acknowledge that. When people don't see people acknowledging like, hey, like we don't actually know what we're talking about, but rather boldly claim that like this is peak, this is trash, and my opinion is all that matters, you're gonna get a lot of people fucking upset.
good way to get the attraction of the huzz. Yes, I did die a little inside saying that out loud. And you know what? I'm thinking about all of this and sitting here and talking about it and being like, shit, Am I the problem? Like, have I just turned into such an unk now that
Yeah.
I can't accept the fact that the online anime community has changed and the ethos of it has been replaced by these new and fresh faces?
Are the kids wrong? No. Sorry. Am I the one out of touch? No, it's the kids. It's the kids who are wrong. No. I think that there is context that absolutely matters in this, where this is not, you know, Unk being an out of touch Unk, but rather Unk being a very aware Unk and seeing the changing, you know, landscape of the anime medium and is able to correctly call out what is going on.
And these darn kids nowadays coming to take over the land that we once held the flag on. You know, I don't know.
I think that, like, we don't have to act as if, you know, you can't join or something. Like, I'm, again, very pro tourists. I think that the way that the Anime Man has a platform and their reach and their discoverability is it's a very powerful tool, and if used correctly can benefit everybody, right? It's just that people see the way that they're making content about stuff they have no idea about, and it's making anime kind of look bad, right? That's the issue. Like, I'm not saying deplatform the Anime Man. I'm not saying, oh my god, they don't know what they're talking about. I'm just saying, hey, we should kind of like accommodate them. Like, they need an advisor. They need like an insider voice that actually knows what the fuck is going on, and for, I guess, just everyone to benefit off of that, rather than saying fuck them, deport the immigrants.
Because I'm sure there's a couple of people in the comments who are saying that exact thing, being like, huh, all right, Unk, you don't even watch anime anymore. Well, you know what? Maybe there's a fucking reason for that. Maybe it's because the way that I see the anime community now is not the same anime community that I was a part of and I grew up with. And
I think that's a coward's way out. I think that he's running away. I think that he should use his voice and platform and opinions to create a community of people that he is proud of, rather than just saying, nah, y'all are a bunch of fucking tourists that don't know what you're talking about and I'm gonna abandon this ship. Nah, don't abandon the ship. Take the fucking steering wheel. Make that tier list, bro. Fucking redo that tier list and show these kids, you know, what an Unk is capable of.
I'm sorry if that makes me out to be an Unk, but trust me, kids, you will feel this in about 5-10 years from now, whether you like it or not. Now, in saying all of this, there is, in my opinion, one positive thing that came out of this influx of anime tourists.
All right.
And it's the fact that it really made the anime industry take itself a lot more seriously. Because we wouldn't have nearly as many anime movies, like big budget, big screen anime films. We wouldn't nearly...
Production goes burr, right? Again, tourists are important, right? If you want more anime, more quality stuff, more projects being greenlit, one of the best things, again, is more fans, more people showing up, right? And I think that the success of these shonen titles like Demon Slayer movie popping up, bro, let's fucking go. I'm sure a lot of tourists are watching that shit, but it's, at the end of the day, helping, I guess, the overall scene.
Really have as high of an animation quality and production quality as we do now. We nearly wouldn't have as many just shows being made if it wasn't for this new influx of this demographic that was previously uninterested in the media.
I would still argue that, like, there is an issue with the anime production, you know, committees and how they greenlight the amount of shows and the lack of like quality that's been put into it to like milk as much out of it, right? Because as much as it's great that we have great blockbuster movies like Demon Slayer coming out, Chainsaw Man movie coming out and just dominating the scene and spreading the joys of anime, there's also so many shitty ass anime, seasonal animes that comes out where that's devoid of any quality or soul. All their goal is to fucking just greenlight these shit and get a one season out and pump that shit and milk it and leave. You know, you're now sacrificing the art part of it in order to satisfy the business line.
Medium. Regardless of how you like to view anime today and how quote-unquote mainstream it has gotten, I think as an anime fan, we like to see the medium evolve. We like to see the medium get better in terms of just quality. Like, regardless of whether you don't like One Piece or you don't like JJK or you don't like Solo Leveling or you don't like all of these like big mainstream shows that are getting...
It's fine though, right? Because again, other people having fun with stuff that you don't enjoy, this shouldn't bother you. I think that is such a loser mindset when people get triggered and upset that like something popular is happening and that you're not part of it. People have this mentality. I give this all the time. Squidward looking outside window meme, bro. This shit happens a lot and it's a very human thing. And I think that as human beings, you're not animals, so you should be able to take awareness of those feelings and process it. SpongeBob and Patrick is excited and enjoying Chainsaw Man, enjoying Demon Slayer. But you are an anime elitist and don't care about those shows and you prefer something else. But like them enjoying that shit shouldn't impact you. It's just that because we're human, you feel like you're missing out on something. You feel like you're not part of this community or a big movement, and due to that insecurity, you're rejected and you get hateful of it. How do I know that? Because I was a Demon Slayer hater the entire time. I was. Until my friends made me force me to watch the fucking, Mugen Train movie and watch the Entertainment District. I was like, this shit is actually really high. Why did I even hate it on the entire time? Because I thought that Demon Slayer was such overhyped garbage that was empty, and it was not like, oh, these new kids don't know fucking anything about anime. It's like, no, I'm just being a fucking unk. And there's nothing wrong with people enjoying stuff that you may not enjoy, because at the end of the day, we can all coexist together. And here's the thing. Here's my final take with this shit is, as you grow, new people will come in. And whether you like it or not, that is an inevitable situation. And when new people come in, some of them are going to be good, some of them are going to be bad. And it's up to you and the community members to moderate this community such that it retains the culture that's been built up over the past, just historical context. And for you to like propel that onto others to pass the torch on. To blindly, right? You know what I mean? So like, this is just part of growth. And a lot of people can't accept that like growth is happening and get upset because they just want the tourist all to be gone. And I think that's such a unk gatekeeping mindset. I think that we need a bit of gatekeeping to keep the shitty tourists out, but also welcoming the new people with open arms and for us to grow like that. And again, that's just life. It's an inevitability. And that's something we need to just, hold each other accountable for in the community that we exist in.
These like movies now, you can't deny that a lot of these shows look absolutely fucking gorgeous. Like, I've only seen clips of the new Demon Slayer movie that is out in cinemas right now, and it's fucking astonishing how
it's mind-blowing.
This fucking movie looks. Like, it's almost making me consider going to go watch it, even though I didn't even finish season 2. A couple of days from now, the new Chainsaw Man movie is coming.
Isn't that we went full circle, bro? Joey has now become a fucking tourist of Demon Slayer. Bro hasn't even finished season 2, but he's gonna go watch the Infinity Castle movie because he thinks movie animation looks good. And you know what? I think that's beautiful. Fuck it. If he enjoys that shit and he gets a fun time, watching that stuff with his friend or his girlfriend or whatever, hey man, good job. But it's kind of funny how it's kind of poetic how we went full circle.
And I didn't think that they would be able to get better at the animation from the anime series, but just from the trailer, yeah, it looks freaking incredible. Like, we would not have anything like this if it wasn't for these anime tourists.
Yes.
Like, if anime was still just as niche of a thing in Japan, or especially in the West, we wouldn't be getting shows like this. We would probably still be stuck in like, early 2000s quality, which, I have a soft spot for. Don't get me wrong. That was my freaking childhood. But at the same time, I can also recognize that a lot of the shows don't look that great and haven't really aged all that well. And you know what? In a weird way, this kind of influx of anime tourists has also kind of taken me out of retirement. Again, I mentioned this in my previous video where I talked about reels, or the fact that I started making more short form content revolving around anime. These, like, I guess, quote unquote anime tourists, if you will, that I have seen on things like TikTok and Instagram have almost inspired me to start talking about anime again because my god, I thought I had some bad takes on anime.
Unk coming out of retirement, putting his fucking cape back on. It's because, I'm the only one that can come out and give people bad takes, bro. This is some fucking amateur ass shit. I gotta get back in there and teach these kids how it's done.
It almost inspires the bully in me to be like, hey, you know what? I feel like I need to teach these kids what actual anime criticism and opinions are all about.
Yes.
It's so fucking funny to me, the amount of people, every time I upload like an anime related short or an anime related TikTok, or, I comment on the video that inspired me to make this video, just the amount of people either like apologizing to me, being like, we owe this man an apology, or the fact that people are like, I don't know, genuinely excited for me to come back to talking about anime and stuff.
That's how it's gotten so bad, bro. It's gotten so fucking bad that his haters are wishing for his return. They genuinely had no idea how good they had it back in the day when Anime Man was still making anime content.
Like that. Look, at the end of the day, what am I trying to say here? Am I trying to say that, hey, go out there and...
No, at the end of the day, I think he has the same take as me, is that with growth, there comes an inevitability of new people coming in. That's not all going to be good. And if you want to maintain, you know, this culture that you appreciate and love and has been part of for, then do your job too and make sure that culture is preserved. Do not let the new people coming in just talk all their bullshit and just actively change what we have lived and loved for. Moderate them. Deport their asses. But does that mean we just deport all the tourists? That we just cancel their immigrant visas? No, because again, with anything in life, it's not about fucking absolutes. It's about a spectrum and trying to locate where's the compromise that we can make. What does the balance take? And the balance take is welcome the tourists in with open arms that wants to be respectful and wants to be part of this shit, and make them more into the anime lovers that you are too, and actively sift out the fucking actual harmful tourists who are being disrespectful to your, I guess, place of residence, the place that they're that you live in and that touring to,
and bully all the anime tourists off the platform, or that, oh, anime tourism has ruined the sanctity of Japanese cartoons. No, I'm not really saying any of that at all. I think, if anything, if you are an anime fan who is not an anime tourist, and you're saying all this thing about, like, you know, get all the anime tourists out of here and stuff like that, I just don't think, you know,
that's right.
You
it's
should
not
take
productive.
all that seriously. I personally have been having a lot of fun just kind of roasting anime tourists. And,
let's go.
You know, just kind of in a funny way making fun of them for their
make some content out of it.
At the end of the day, that's all it is. They're just opinions. And yeah, you know, some people might be like, oh, but you know, if you have a big following online, then you have some responsibility to, you know, give the right information, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, and that's why a lot of people are upset with the Anime Men, right? It's the fact that they have 4 million subscribers, but guess what? Those 4 million subscribers are not you. They are a bunch of chicken nugget enjoyers that watch their funny skits and relatable memes about mainstream anime culture and stuff around it. They have no obligation at the end of the day to become like the Wikipedia, or like, you know, have like be an anime like this, like what's it called, like a dictionary. You know what I'm saying? And I get why a lot of people are frustrated coming in thinking like, because like, again, why would you go to a McDonald's and get upset that like you are getting a cheap burger? You went to McDonald's. But I guess in terms of finding that video for a lot of new people, the tourists of Anime Man content, actually, they didn't even know it's a McDonald's that they were entering. They thought it was going to be some fancy ass restaurant, and then they get upset for it, right? The same reason you wouldn't expect one of the biggest businesses in America, McDonald's, right? Fast food, to hold and preserve like the most balanced and healthy, nutritious meals, right? Do they have some sort of moral obligation just because they're big? No, they're doing what they need to do because that's their business. The anime men are doing what they need to do because that's what, you know, makes them money, and the content that they make clearly, you know, entertains their audience. There's no like responsibility for them to be the type of like OG anime know-it-all, right? Just because numbers are big.
Well, but, you know, at the end of the day, they're all just opinions, man. If you want to believe that Solo Leveling is the next coming of Jesus, or you want to believe that Astro Boy is the greatest anime ever created,
go ahead.
That's cool, dude. You can feel that way. That's totally valid. But what these anime tourists need to realize, that as valid as it is to have opinions like that,
when you have shit opinions, people gonna talk back, right? Just because everyone has freedom of speech doesn't mean that, like, listen, you talk shit, you say something, other people are gonna respond. Like, that's just part of the deal.
You're also not free from any criticism either. So
exactly.
I'm not gonna drag on this video much longer. All I'm gonna say is this: if there are any people watching this video who identify as an anime tourist, or as someone who maybe got into anime over the COVID pandemic, I'm first of all going to say, welcome. One thing you will come to learn very quickly is that the anime community, the online anime community, the biggest bunch of unforgiving
Pussies.
dickheads on the internet.
Very opinionated people, very heated. But why are they heated like that? Because they're passionate. They love what they do and what they, you know, just like consume. That's why these anime takes, man, people sending like death threats or like, yo, send it to the gulags, like unironically, or saying, do these guys even deserve human rights over a fucking tier list? That's fucking crazy.
But at the same time, don't take it all that seriously, okay? Just chill. Take your time with exploring the medium, and I think most importantly, come to appreciate the medium for what it is. Even though you personally may not agree with all of the different aspects that make anime, for example, you know, all of these like high school romances, or these questionable ages that some of these characters have, or some of the fact that,
Lollies.
I don't know, older anime are maybe boring to you, or anything like that. Just try to understand and try to appreciate the culture and the subculture for what it is. Because regardless of whether it goes against what you morally believe is correct or superior, it ain't gonna change for you. You are just one person who watches Japanese cartoons going against 70 years of history that was created by a bunch of Japanese people back in the 60s. Just enjoy those shows for what they are, and if you have opinions on some of them, I say, don't be afraid to express them. Because you know what? Everyone started off as an anime tourist.
Exactly.
It's just that anime tourists back in the day were self-aware enough to maybe, I don't know, take a little bit of time to actually explore the medium before expressing their opinions about it online.
And why must that be? Because I think like back in the day, due to lack of technology and lack of like social media outlets and different channels of communication, more people are a little isolated in their silos, and they try to like find niche forums of really diehard people to talk about it. But these days, like you just start scrolling through TikTok, you're just getting heavy lore dumps of random ass shows you never even know about from people that may not even know what they're fucking talking about. And then people, you know, consume the short form content without any fucking due diligence and act as if they are, you know, like subject matter experts, and they come in with ignorant opinions, acting as if, you know, they are veterans of the scene, when at the end of the day, you're a fucking tourist that's just been fucking scrolling on your phone for like 3 hours thinking you know everything about this specific anime.
At the same time, we took our time to appreciate the medium for what it is, the art for what it is. Because at the end of the day, regardless of how you view it or not,
it's funny how like this also issue that Joey's talking about, it's all due to technology. It's just that simple. The advance, like the what's it called? The explosive growth of technology, how we're all connected more than ever, while at the same time being more alone more than ever. Social media blowing up, so much easier way to consume content, and at the same time the quality of the content being questionable, right? Like this again makes the monkeys, like you're giving every fucking monkey a gun immediately, rather than the monkey like being like, what am I trying to say? This analogy is stupid. Back in the day, like a monkey didn't have like a gun immediately given, but had to actually do their fucking like side quests and jobs to like learn about like proper rules and sets, and eventually got it. But these days they're just being given one immediately. Does that even make sense? No. What I'm trying to say is the advent of technology blowing up and how accessible stuff are is making people more ignorant and not do the due diligence and acting as if they are subject matter experts. Uneducated people coming in with such, you know, abstraction of anything that you have to do to get knowledge, talking as if they know shit. That's it.
It is an art, and much like any art medium, there's a history behind it, there is a culture behind it, and it takes a lot of time to like get your foot really into that realm. I mean, fuck, I've been making anime content online now for over a decade, and I still go out and want to learn more about the medium and you know, learn about how it came to be and what it will become. Because yes, even though there are a lot of shows in the medium that I absolutely love and some that I absolutely despise,
like Bocchi the Rock,
and a lot that I still haven't seen yet, I want to know more about the medium, and I love the medium for what it is. And if you are one of those people who don't appreciate the medium, don't understand the medium, don't give a shit about the history, don't give a shit about the cultural significance of all of this, maybe don't make a tier list video trying to dissect every single anime.
God damn! That final line was great. The final line was great, and I think he is absolutely cooking. And here is the final takeaway, right? TLDR. Let's get a bunch of like, you know, just concluding points here, right? I love these videos, sorry, these like little notepads I love doing where we just kind of sum up what's going on. So the issue right now, right? First things first. Does the anime men, right? Does like the anime men deserve like, what am I even trying to say? Should the anime men even like require like having like people are mad that the anime men has such a big platform, but you know, represented like anime in a disingenuous, you know, like disingenuous or lack of respect, right? Like they basically pulled up without really trying hard, and that's why people are really mad. They are, right? They are short form, you know, like they're shorts merchants and built their audience, right? Audience of like 4 mil plus, right? Off of mainstream stuff. So their audience, you know, cares about, you know, not what we want, but what, you know, they offer. Simple, short, fun. Simple, short, fun. Thus, like, there's no obligation, right? Obligation, expectation that they should, you know, deliver such, you know, well thought out content. But at the same time, just like the anime man said, right? Just like the anime man Joey just said, right? But you shouldn't, you know, make videos about topics that's beyond, you know, your league, right? Stick to shorts and memes. Like choosing a format of video, right? Of video due to virality of, you know, discovering, you know, X years worth of, you know, Y, right? You should only do it if you care about it, right? If you like, you come in, right? If the reason that a lot of people fucking are mad that like this is happening, right? The reason people are mad is because they just found out, right? Out about the anime men, and they're shocked that someone so big would have such ignorant content, right? Should a McDonald's, but here's the thing, right? People didn't even realize they're going into a McDonald's, right? And got served a cheap meal. But here's the thing, in the game of YouTube, right? Like you have no clue who they are, right? They didn't even know that they're going to McDonald's, and that's why, right? And that's why they're fucking mad. That's why they're mad. It's really that simple. Another thing is tourists, right? Tourists are good and bad. You need tourists to grow. And to gatekeep everyone out is retarded, genuinely. It's genuinely so fucking stupid to think that like never, right? Never work in absolutes. Always look for the nuanced, you know, balanced take. And the balanced take here is just simple, right? When tourists come in, right? When tourists come in and try to change the, you know, existing culture and customs, then it's disrespectful, right? So we should gatekeep them. We should deport the asses. Yes, absolutely, we should. Right? But not everyone's like that. We should welcome in, right? Welcome in new tourists that want to know more about, you know, anime, rather than act like just elitist gatekeepers. Because if you don't do this, your community dies. And no matter how you may think that like you have enough, like listen, people like age out, many people like find different hobbies. Like you can't have have a closed off, right? Closed off well and expect the water to not dry out. It's just really that simple. I think this entire drama can literally be just summed in what I just said. And at the end of the day, it's just anime opinions. You don't have to get that mad about it, but I understand how you might get so upset that such a big mainstream channel was giving such ignorant takes. But again, they're short form content merchants and they acknowledge that like they fucked up, and I'm sure they can grow from this and we can all do better. And rather than hating on tourists, you should be the change that you want to see. Actively call them out and, you know, basically preserve the maintaining culture. Don't just like give up on everything and crash out and say deport all the asses. No, deport some of them. Deport some of them while at the same time, right, filtering out the people that I think are beneficial so that the anime medium that we love can continue to grow and we can continue to get better content. Anyways, that's pretty much it. We're doing a bunch of rambling at this point. Here's the Joey Bissinger channel. Please go help out this small channel of 850,000 subscribers so that you too, I don't know, this small channel can hit 1 million subscribers, guys. With your help, I'm sure this will be possible. See you next time.